All right. What's up, everyone? Yeah, training on meditation and the pillars that I like to organize mindfulness meditations underneath. And so I'm going to pull that up right here. Let me go. So sharing that. Boom, meditation pillars. All right. So first thing I like to say with meditation is that actually I'll go back and tell a little story. I was on a podcast a few months ago with some buddies, and we were talking about mental health, mindfulness, mental performance, and the guy was like, "Hey, Paul, you're talking a lot about meditation, mental health." I dabbled in meditation for a week or two. I didn't really see any benefits, and so I need to get back on it. That's basically what he said. And I was like, you dabbled. Like, imagine just dabbling and going to the gym every once a month, or dabbling and talking to someone that you're in a relationship with. Like, you're not ever going to see results dabbling it. So that's the first thing I like to lead with, is that things take time. You're going to maybe have a hard time the first week, the second week, the first month of having a mindfulness practice, whether it's journaling every single day or meditating every single day, something that I do every single day. And when I get out of that routine, it also becomes harder. When I'm in that routine, it becomes much easier. And the more that I do it, the more I'm able to get into those states where I'm actually able to dive deeper into different thought processes, or get a little bit more clarity on what it is that I want. And so the first thing I would say is, don't give up. Don't freak out because you can't clear your mind. You're not supposed to clear your mind. You're trying to be mindful and aware of different things. And I'm going to show you what those pillars are, so that it gives you a little bit something. It gives you something to cling on to when your mind is going a million different directions. And I call that monkey mind. Other people call that monkey mind, but I like to think of that monkey as jumping from thought to thought and branch to branch. And rather than spending a bunch of energy trying to slow it down, let that monkey reveal to you what it is that maybe you need to spend a little bit more time meditating. And I'm going to dive into thoughts as patterns. It kind of helps break down, why we're doing what we're doing from a mindfulness standpoint. And so the thoughts that we have every single day, 62,000 thoughts per day, 85% of them negative, 95% of them the same. And I like to use the street and the dirt path, or freeway and a dirt path analogy, to help us understand why it's really important to train our mind. So as stress increases, neural pathways are going to take the fastest route possible. So it's Sunday. Maybe you're super relaxed, you're on the couch, and someone says, "Hey, do you want to do this thing that is not aligned with your core values or not aligned with your goals?" You're pretty relaxed. You're able to logically make a rational decision and say, "Nah, I'm good." But what happens if you were really stressed and really hungry? What happens if there is a screaming toddler, or you just got in a argument with someone that you're dating, or you're watching the news and you're just like super stressed about something that happened? The more that we increase stress, the more likely we are to make decisions that we have mapped out the fastest, that we have taken the most often, that we have habitually followed. And this is where the freeway and the dirt path analogy comes in. If we constantly make the decision to grab a beer when we're really stressed out after a day of work, or we constantly make the decision to grab chips after our dinner, and we're like, all right, we are basically grooving in that thought path to where it becomes a freeway, and it becomes really easy to make that decision. Another way to think of this is simply the practice of meditation. When you start something new, you're trying to create a new neural pathway, a new thought pathway that normally you go and do something that is the freeway, and now you're trying to carve out this new one, and it's going to be this dirt path. And that dirt path is going to grow. The more you use it, then it becomes a gravel road. Then it becomes a 2-lane highway. Then it becomes a freeway. But the more stressed we get, the more you can use this in a gym standpoint as well. If you are asked to do a body weight squat, form probably looks pretty good. What if I put 100 pounds on it, right? That's more stress. That's more strain for the body. All right, maybe the form gets a little bit harder. What if I put 400 pounds on you? Okay, now that's where things start to break down. We start to choose what is the fastest pattern, not the healthiest, not the safest, not the smartest. The brain is really good at being efficient, and so it is going to take the route that it knows best. And so that's why we practice mindfulness, so that we can say, hey, I constantly make this really rational, or this really irrational emotional response to this piece of news, or to this type of person, or to this scenario. And by using mindfulness and being like, all right, I want to choose a different path that is a little bit less developed, right? It's that dirt path. I want to consciously make that choice to go down that path, and I'm going to train myself to do that. And there's 3 different ways we can do that, and it's going to come down to the 3 pillars. So we're going to jump into, I should probably have a slide on what the 3 pillars are. 3 pillars: reflection, grounding, and visualization. Reflection is the act of moving or looking backward. So there's 4 examples I really like to use myself and with clients. And this could be just a check-in reflection. Like, how am I feeling? What emotions am I feeling right now? How can we be aware, cultivate awareness of what is going on in the current state that we're in and what's coming up for us? I love the saying, emotion is energy in motion. So if you have emotions that are very volatile and they're going left and they're going right, you're going to need to come up with some sort of state change to come back at that energy that's moving in motion. Think of a train. If a train's going south, it's going to need some sort of force that's going to cause it to not go south. You're going to need something that is going north in order to do that. So if you are super frustrated, you want to come up with an energy or a thought or an emotion that is the opposite of that. So simply checking in and saying like, all right, I'm super stressed. Now we can start to think of things that are the opposite of that and get us out of that state. The states and traits, if you're not familiar with those, traits are personality traits that we have. Maybe we are naturally calm. Maybe we are naturally funny. States are like weathered patterns. They come in and they come out. There's going to be times when, there's thunderstorms going. There's going to be times when we are, in a rainstorm of emotion, but that's not always going to be the case. And so we want to practice creating traits that allow us to remain calm in a state of chaos. We want to create traits that allow us to remain confident when maybe you are really insecure. And so that's where this reflection meditation of just understanding like, all right, what state am I in? How can I get back to that trait that is a lot more aligned with the values that I have? Then there's the reflection that we can do on a daily level or a weekly level. That's what I like to do, in meditation or in journaling. Did I accomplish what I wanted to today? How did I show up today? How did I do in this presentation? How did I do at this event with family? How did I do? Like, go back and objectively look and say like, all right, like I did this well, I didn't do this well. Here's what I can work on next time. You can do the same thing in the week. Say like, all right, I had these goals for the week. Did I accomplish them? Did I do my 5 workouts? Did I track my nutrition? Did I meditate every single day? All right, I did, I didn't. What can I do better? What obstacles need to be removed? What do I need to continue to doing? And what do I need to stop doing if I'm going to become the person that I want to be? And then the 4th one, and this one, could be done in combination with a therapist or the coach, someone that is able to help you dive deeper into what it is that you're holding on to that you need to let go. And you see this all the time with stories, and that someone's like, first one that's coming to mind is like, I can't lose weight. Like, it's just my genetics. Like, that's a story that you've bought into. I can't get a promotion. I'm not smart enough. That's a story you've bought into. And there's deeper levels to that, where we get into a lot of psychology, where you are basically saying on repeat for years and years and years and years, you're taking something that someone said. It might have been a macro event, or micro trauma, a macro trauma, and you're letting that loop, that freeway run and run and run and run. So simply getting and diving deeper and using something that I maybe call like the 5 whys. I got a YouTube video on that. If you have any questions, I can send that to you. But the 5 whys, that's something I got from Amazon. And you ask yourself, like, why? I'm super insecure. Why? It's because I am not a confident public speaker. All right. Well, why aren't you a confident public speaker? Well, I had a really bad experience when I was 13 where someone made fun of you. Well, why are you still holding on to that? And it's kind of like what kids do when they're just like, why? And you just keep answering their questions. And eventually you kind of have this earth-shattering moment where you're like, whoa, that's the basis. That's the foundation. That's the root of this problem that's showing up upstream. But or downstream, when you look at the upstream reason why, this is where you get into it. So reflection meditation is just the act of looking back, reflecting on the past. That's another way to think about it, is the past. And when you reflect, then you're able to take what you need with it, leave what you need to leave. Sometimes we need to take stuff with us. Sometimes we need to let stuff go. And that's what happens in this reflection meditation. Next is going to be grounding. So grounding, for reflection, you want to think of as looking back. Grounding is going to be the act of getting present. So there's 4 different ways I like to do this. Mantra could be something that you repeat to yourself over and over and over to create some sort of energy about the day, some energy about an activity that you're doing to change the state that you're in. So maybe you're in a state of doubt and you've got a mantra that you repeat to yourself. One of my friends have a company and their mantra is best day ever. No matter what, the best day ever. It's the best day ever simply because it's today. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Yesterday's already happened. Like right now, this present moment's the best day ever. A client that I had, his mantra was, I did the impossible yesterday. So if you're training for maybe a 5K, half marathon or a marathon, you're training to lift a certain amount of weight, 2 months ago, you couldn't do what you can do now. So you literally did the impossible yesterday. So every time you come up to a challenge, an obstacle that's saying, I can't do this, you did the impossible yesterday. So what if you reminded yourself that the impossible thing that you think you can't do today is possible, and you're just going to go and attack that until you finally knock it out and check it off the list. Affirmation. So as I mentioned earlier, 85% of thoughts are negative, give or take. Maybe a really positive person is only 80 or 75. We spend a lot of time subconsciously telling ourselves we aren't enough, telling ourselves that there's a lack of, that there's a scarcity of, that I don't deserve X. Where affirmations become really powerful, whether it's in your journal, whether it is in meditation, and this could be in the form of manifestation too, where you're basically saying like, I am a sub 3-hour marathoner. I am 150 pounds. I am this. I am this. And you just write it out, or you say it over and over and over and over. That simple act of consciously saying a new story. You're creating a new route that your mind takes. This is where I come back to that dirt path or freeway. If you keep running into the same obstacles, you haven't addressed that freeway. That is a negative self-talk that you need to come up with some sort of affirmation, some sort of system to believe in that you can do something that previously you haven't. So I like to say, like, I'm creating the life of my dreams. I'm creating the business of my dreams. I help and deliver so much impact to the people that I work with, right? Because there's thoughts that come in my head all the time where it's, Paul, you're not smart enough. You don't do enough. Your clients hate you, right? And that's not the case. But those stories can get brought up again from the past, from just current self-doubt. So having an affirmation I've got in my journal every single day, I'm just writing in, boom, just burning in the exact same affirmations. And that's helping me rewire my mind so that that dirt path becomes the freeway of positivity. Speaking of positivity, gratitude practice. There's a few different ones that you can do for this, but why I like grounding meditation and aligning it with gratitude is the act of being grateful for what you currently have in the present. We spend so much time comparing ourselves to, someone has a better career, someone has a fluffier dog, someone's skinnier, someone's stronger, blah, 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 blah. Gratitude. Just the act of being alive is really rare when you look at the odds of that happening. So the opportunity to walk, to breathe fresh air, to go and spend time with people. There's so many things going on in your life that are great. I love to say everything sucks, everything's amazing, all dependent on your perspective. And if you can take the perspective every day of saying, even if this situation sucks, I'm going to learn from it. You can train your mind to look for the good and be grateful in that. And rather than focusing on, where you want to be or comparing yourself to someone who's maybe further along, you're being grateful for where you're at and grateful for how far you've come in your own journey. I recently had a guest on the podcast who talked about, we spend so much time comparing our chapter 1 or chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20, right? We are our own book. We are our own story. And we're going to progress. And we're going to get there in our journey as we need to. And we don't get to compare it to anyone else because they're on their own journey as well. We don't see what other people are dealing with. We only know what we're dealing with. And just the act of either writing out, or there's this one I find really fun, is the gratitude rampage, where you just shout out all the things that you're super pumped for. You're like, I love my water, I love my camera, I love my phone, I love my computer, right? These are all things in front of me, but you're just coming up with ways to just look and seek out reasons in life to be super pumped, super grateful, because they all exist. And that's what gratitude practice is. grounding meditation. Just get super grateful. List out of all the things, all the people that you're super grateful for. Last one's going to be breath work. Breath always exists in the present moment. If you breathe in through the nose right now, breathe out through the mouth. That happens right now. Breath never happens in the past, never happens in the future. What happens a lot of times is people get anxious, people get really worked up, and they lose track of their breathing. The simple act of breathing in through the nose, just scientifically the way that we're supposed to breathe, and then breathing out through the mouth is going to help ground you and bring you back, coming back to that states and traits, bring you back into that state of relaxation, down-regulated heartbeat, of being parasympathetic. And the thing that I like about breath too, when we're doing different counting techniques, is that gives you something to focus on in your meditation. If you find that your mind is just going a million miles an hour, or maybe you can't sleep, breath work's a really good way to do that. So box breathing, 4 by 4 by 4 by 4, 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. Just keep cycling through that. And that box doesn't have to be 4 by 4. It could be 5 by 5. It could be 3 by 3. Just find something that allows you to focus on that. Anytime you want to bring yourself into a more relaxed state, simple act of breathing in shorter than you exhale out, it's going to help stimulate your parasympathetic, it's called the vagal tone. You're going to bring that down so that your heart rate, so that your nervous system is in a much more relaxed state. So simple act of breathing in for 1, 2, exhale out for 4, 3, 2, 1. Really try and emphasize those exhales. And with that breath work, there's so many different types, but a lot of them are basically meant to help change your physiological state. And that state that you're in is always in the present moment, so it grounds you in. One last thing on grounding, I like to think of grounding as a tree, right? The more present that you can be, the more grounded you are as a person, right? The deeper your roots go. And when craziness hits the fan, when bad days happen, when unfortunate events happen, right? The more grounded we are into the earth, into who we are, into the present moment, into the belief and the mantras that we have about ourselves, the less likely we are as a tree to sway or even blow away. Whereas someone who's not really, rooted, a tree that's not really rooted, if you get a hurricane passing through, that tree's going to blow away. So that's why I call it grounding meditation, because these are meant to ground you in the present moment so that nothing can shake your foundation. And last but not least, any athletes out there are going to recognize this: visualization meditation. So visualization is looking into the future, obviously. If you've been following along, you have reflection in the past, you have the grounding, which is in the present, and then you have visualization. And so this is looking forward. And there's 4 different ways that I like to do this. First one's going to be evolved self. So there's a version of you that you are meant to become. There is a version of you that right now you are working to become. And you got to ask yourself, what does that version of me do, right? What does that version of Chad, what does that version of Stacy, what does that version of Paul do when they are a sub-3 marathoner, when they are 50 pounds lighter, when they are absolutely crushing it in every aspect of their life? What decisions do they make? And I remember doing this, training for a marathon, laying on bed at 6 p.m. I had an 8-mile run ahead of me. And I was like, what does a sub-3 marathoner do right now when they're supposed to run 8 miles? I was just like, damn, I gotta get up, because that version of myself, that evolved version of myself, makes these types of decisions that the version that I'm trying to grow beyond doesn't make. And so reminding yourself, all right, what does the decision of 6 months from me make? The thing you got to realize is that success is a lagging indicator. The situation that you find yourself in now is a culmination of the decisions, the actions, the thoughts, the steps that you took 3 months ago, 6 months ago, 3 years ago, 6 years ago, right? So the actions that you're taking today are creating the future and the evolved self that you're going to have tomorrow. Obstacles. So I got this one from a neurosurgeon I had on my podcast, and the idea of visualizing failure can actually be really powerful, because it gives you a way to then handle and address those obstacles when they come. Because if you just plan without any contingencies, right? You're going on a camping trip. Oh, we're just going to plan like it's rainbows and sunshine. But then what happens if it rains, right? So you want to visualize negative things happening. How are you going to handle that situation so that when it comes, it's relaxed breath? Maybe that's what you visualize. You visualize a relaxed breath when a stressful situation happens. Then you can visualize, all right, what are the steps that I take to get over and around this obstacle? Next one's going to be success. This one's similar to evolved self, but you got to see it to believe it. If you are trying to hit some sort of PR, if you are trying to achieve something at work, if you are trying to grow in any capacity, you got to see it before it happens. When we see it, when we can visualize it in our mind can't tell the difference between what is true in the future and that we are visualizing and what is true now. So if we can spend that time closing our eyes and visualizing ourselves being, what does it feel like in every single sense of the body? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What does it feel like on our skin as we got that iron over our shoulders and we're hitting that PR? Now we're going to start to believe that that's real. When we believe that something's real, that's when we chase it. When we believe that we can actually achieve something, that's when we're going to be much more motivated to keep going because we've seen it happen in our mind. Last one's going to be mental reps. There's been a number of studies done on this where they'll take people who practice free throws, visualize free throws, and don't do anything. And the people that just visualize free throws for the exact same, I think it was 4 weeks or 6 weeks, that shot free throws, saw the same increase in percentage as the people who people that visualized and took it. The people that didn't do anything saw no increase. So we know that mental reps is equally as beneficial as physical reps, and we're not always going to have the opportunity to be in the gym, be in the boardroom, wherever it is that we're trying to practice being better. But if we can visualize ourselves going through and being successful, doing reps of a speech, of a podcast, of whatever it is that we want to do, right? We are grooving that freeway of what we want to happen and turning that dirt path into that freeway. So homework for this, if you guys want to take some actionable steps from this, is incorporate one from each of the three into your daily habits and daily routines. And I can tell you, these are things that when they become daily habits, literally lay the foundation and create the lifestyle that changes your life. I'm not being exaggerated here. I have no doubt about it because it's happened in my life. It's happened in clients' lives. It happens in people who see crazy transformations. This is the hood, or this is the engine under the hood that is being rewired, that is being changed so that that car goes a million miles further. And it's all about mindfulness, all about mental performance. The more that you can address this, the more in charge of your mental health you can be. I mentioned earlier, like, do this in combination with a coach, with a therapist. If it's a clinical issue that you want to deal with, if it's just a mindset thing, working with a coach. I've got two different options. I've got the group version, which is going to be the Mindful Muscle membership. And then if you want to work with this in a one-on-one capacity, in addition to the training piece, we're looking at a Mindful Muscle mentorship. So getting used to these names, but this is, I can't reiterate enough, this is really where change, transformation happens, and really commit to making this a daily routine. Any questions, drop them in the group, drop them in the chat, or shoot me a message. More than happy to get back to you.